Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call when you are ready.
Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite is absent. Councilman Brian Lonks is absent. Councilwoman Ann Heffernan.
Councilwoman Ann Heffernan, 1st District, present.
Councilwoman Michelle Coletti is absent. Councilwoman Sarah Akbarali is absent. Councilman Gary Donovan.
Councilman Gary Donovan, 4th District, present.
Councilman Edward McMillan.
Councilman Edward McMillan, 5th District, present.
Councilwoman Dawn Callahan is absent. Councilwoman Catherine Tucker.
Councilwoman Catherine Tucker, 7th District, present.
Councilman Christopher Vargo.
Councilman Christopher Vargo, 8th District, present.
Councilwoman Katie Muller is absent. Councilman Steve Johnstone.
Councilman Stephen Johnstone, 10th District, present.
And Chairman Nicholas Pascal.
Chairman Nicholas Pascal, at large, present.
And we do have a quorum.
We do barely have a quorum. Thank you. First up, we have a public hearing in legislative matters. Chairman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The time is 6:51 and your Committee on Public Matters is in session for a public hearing on Communication F from the August 26th, 2024 agenda from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate a new Section 199-5 regarding cigarette dealer licenses and renewals. Would anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? For a second time, would anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? For a third and final time, would anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. The time is 6:52. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Public Lands Committee. Chairman Donovan. Oh, I just asked that. I thought you said no. I'm sorry. We have the second Legislative Matters Committee public hearing. Mr. Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The time is 6:52, and the Committee on Legislative Matters is now in session. We are opening the public hearing on Communication G from the August 26, 2024 agenda from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 128-10, citations for violations. Would anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? For a second time, would anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? For a third and final time, would anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. The time is 6:53. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We will have to wait till 6:55 as noted on the agenda for the Public Lands Committee public hearing. We will be back with you. The time is now 6:55. We're going to move on to our Public Lands Committee public hearing. Chairman Donovan.
Thank you, Chairman Pascal. The time is 6:55. Public Lands Committee is supposed to have a public session, public hearing today about Communication D from the September 9th, 2024 agenda for Mayor Dorinda Borer regarding the sale of city-owned property at 69 Westfield Street. Unfortunately, we cannot hold that today because there's only, we don't have enough for a quorum in my committee. So I am requesting that we cancel this one and we extend it and have one, hold one October 14th at 6:55.
Okay, October 14th, 6:55. We will move it till then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your committee on public lands is closed.
Thank you. We will now enter into public session. The time is now 6:55. Chief. Oh, we have to wait until 7 o'clock. Sorry, Pete. Okay, now that it's reached 7 o'clock, we can enter into public session at 7. First speaker, Chairman Massaro. Chief Massaro. Pete Massaro.
Being council members, I got a few questions. First place I want to say, Mayor, you're doing
Name
a
and
great
address,
job.
please.
You're doing a great job, but,
Name and address.
oh, I'm sorry, Peter Massaro, 8 Christian Circle, West Haven.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job, Mayor, but for you to shine and do a good job, like we know the last administration, you get the individuals that work under you that embarrass you, you're not going to shine. When your people underneath you do the wrong things and the wrong moves, it falls on the top. And you should know that because that's what happened to the last administration. To have a council meeting for a quorum, how many you need? 7, right? To have a committee meeting, you got to have 3. I looked in the charter and I checked out all the commissions. In the commissions, it says you got to have 5 people to have a commission, 2 alternates. To have a quorum, you got to have 3. If you don't have the 3, the alternates fill in, and they take the full responsibility as that commissioner. I looked at only about 4 or 5 of them, your commissions. Council people don't do that. The West Haven PD don't do it. But the other commissions all do that, including the fire department. Well, I went to a meeting at the fire department, and an individual, a commissioner, went to the corporation council on her own with other people. You'll see who got the notice on this, that he came up with an idea that you don't need the alternates. As long as you have a quorum, the alternates could go home. That's not true, and that's wrong. I've been a firefighter for 40 years. I've been in that fire department since 1973. Don't pull the wool over my eyes. It doesn't work. And then especially when you get a corporation council that decides to change the rules on have a meeting and get rid of the alternates, that's not right. And I don't think that's fair. The problem is they wanted to get rid of one individual on the council. And by pulling that, that's not right. And you'll see on top of that, there's only 3 individuals got notice of this, and there's 5 people on the council, on the commission. Personally, that's an embarrassment to you. And I like to see something done about it or straighten it out, because if you look at the minutes of the last commissioners' meeting, Commissioner Palumbo made it clear that she threw out the other alternates. And you just reappointed Kevin Conklin, and he resigned that night and says, what's the use of me coming here and wasting my time if I can't listen to the meetings? If there's a problem there and you only have 3 people and the other 2 commissioners are not there, the alternates, how are they going to know what's going on if they got to vote on something? If there's not 5 people in the basic of the commission, the alternates fill in. If they're not there, they won't know what's going on. So I think it's totally wrong what the Corporation Council did. And if you read all your commissions, all run that way. It takes 5 people. 1 of the 5 don't show, the alternates fill in. And that's the same thing with the fire district. So that's all I have to say about this. I don't think it's right. Sometimes I wonder where he got his license, probably behind Gabgara's like somebody else I know. But it's not fair. You don't throw out the alternates. The alternates are part of it. And if they want to get rid of somebody, then they should turn around and talk to the individual and tell him what he's doing wrong to straighten him out. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Would anyone else? Miss, yes.
see me and I don't see you. So I'm going to stay on the side. I'm over here tonight just to thank Dorinda, our mayor, for assigning the school to be the the community center as senior citizen center, because that's what I was going for. If I may suggest, maybe, I know it's going to be 2 years by the time it's ready, maybe form a committee of seniors to see what programs should be and how to go about. Also, they need at least a minibus to bring, especially if it's out of reach. The senior bus, the DATCO, whatever, works only 3 days a week. What do you do the other day? And then you need that. So to assign that for the senior citizen center to be used for that. And a staff, more people to be, and invite people to be volunteers at the center to make it feel welcome to their suggestion, their help, which is needed. Volunteers is the one that bring the programs about. So I want to thank you, Mayor, for finally making one of the dreams. To think that that school was empty for so many years, and we have been asking for a first floor, ground level, bigger, with parking space and all that. And there was deaf ears that they could not do it. So I want to thank you again, and I hope everything goes okay, and I'll have a news if I make it. I'm going to be 90 years old, so I don't know if I'm going to make it. But if I make it, it'll be a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak before the city council? Sir?
Good evening, Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name's Rich Hebert. I live at 166 Bloom Street. And tonight I'd like to comment on the Painter Park Field House. Somehow that's got lost in the shuffles. Somehow you didn't come up with enough funds for it. I really don't understand why it's not going to happen. It's not going to do me any good. I'm not going to be running anywhere. But that's a field house over there for the kids and the sports that go on in this city. And it's Painter Park is a well-used park. People go there all the time. They bring little kids and big kids. And that facility that was supposed to happen was to provide them shelter in inclement weather, and dangerous thunderstorms and lightning, things like that. And I understand that there's a lot of problems with the finances here, but some of the programs that are being funded by ARPA are not costing as much as they should. So is there some way that in your wisdom that you can get some money from one of the things that are canceled so that make the Painter Park shelter happen? Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak before the city council? For the second time, would anyone like? Yes?
Hi, all. Good evening. My name is Nika Zarazvand. I live at 740 Quinnipiac Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, 06513. I'm here to kind of follow up on what we had proposed last meeting, which was allocating the remainder of the ARPA funds to supporting the needs of women in West Haven who are impacted by domestic violence and sexual violence. And I wanted to bring some more research that I had done on how other cities in Connecticut had spent their ARPA funds. I was really inspired by the town of New Milford, Connecticut, which decided to dedicate $200,000 toward a 2-year position for a domestic violence and family advocate position housed within the social services department. And this person will essentially be free to address any of the following needs, which is housing needs, mental health needs, legal communication barriers, because they had recognized that a lot of times, even after survivors and victims are able to report what's going on to the police, they're not really checked in on between the time that they report whatever is going on to the police and when police make a decision on what has happened, indeed. And they also identify that that's when victims are most at risk. The mayor of New Milford, Steve Bass, said that this person will be that person that, quote, they will be the person that will go and knock on that door and make sure that that person that's been abused has the resources they need to be independent and to be able to be self-sufficient. So again, they're trying to fill the gaps, not just giving more funds to the existing organizations, but just making sure that those who might not be covered by those organizations or anybody who's experiencing a gap in resources would have somebody within the city to reach out to, and that this person would actually be able to speak with the police if there are inconsistencies, barriers, issues going on. Another quote from him was that we need to do whatever we can to help those individuals that have been affected by domestic violence, and we're going to have a no tolerance policy for that here in New Milford. I also recognize that, in the allocations that have already been made, at least $38,000 has been spent towards community mental health needs. So even though last time I came talking about how a lot of cities have devoted millions of dollars to supporting domestic violence survivors, I just want to make it clear that there are smaller ways to contribute and invest towards that effort that don't require millions of dollars of funding. That even $40,000 going towards mental health resources would also go a very long way to support domestic violence survivors. So, I know we're looking forward to following up with Councilmember Melly Garthwaite about kind of the conversations that have been had outside of meetings. But I really ask all of you to consider that proposal to, spend the remainder of the funds. There are multiple ways that they could be spent. They could either fund a position like the one outlined here, specifically devoted to supporting survivors and domestic violence victims, or could be split up between, a part-time position and actually making, $60,000, $70,000 available in vouchers to directly go to survivors and victims. Whether that needs to go towards housing, whether that needs to go towards a new security deposit to move away, whether that goes towards custody battles. There are lots of, food. There are just lots of needs that we've seen come up with survivors that we have constantly been fundraising for. And so, anytime we see this size of money left behind, we think maybe this could fund one position, but really if it funds services directly, money directly to victims, that goes a really long way for them. Thank you for your time, and I hope you consider proposing this.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak before the city council? The second time, would anyone like to speak before the city council? For the third and final time, would anyone like to speak before the city council? Public session is now closed. The time is 7:14. Let us now convene the 9/23/24 regularly scheduled council meeting at also 7:14. I am looking for a motion to approve the journal of 9/9/24.
Motion.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Vargo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And will the clerk please hand out the communications for this evening?
We have before us Communication A from the tax collector regarding overpayment refunds for September 2024, which will be filed with tonight's minutes. And we have Communication B from Mayor Dorinda Borer regarding the Department of Economic and Community Development Urban Act grant in the amount of $2 million being assigned to the Finance Committee. Chairman Vargo. And that concludes our communications for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you kindly. We will now recess into committee meetings at 7:15. First up, we have the Finance Committee, and that will be headed by Councilman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The time is 7:15, and the Committee on Finance is now in session. Committee members present are Councilwoman Tucker, Councilman Johnstone, and myself acting as chair. Councilman Locks and Councilwoman Acbarelli are absent. My understanding is that there was no MARB meeting between last meeting and this meeting?
I believe it was postponed, right?
No, it's postponed? Okay. And we have a finance update from Finance Director Michael Gormany. Does anybody on the committee? Yes. Mr. Gormany?
All right, good evening, everyone. So this is a short report. We did change up the format a little bit to give a little bit more detail, but this is the monthly report as of July. So normally the first few reports that you'll see will match the budget as we go through the fiscal year. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we really get a sense of where we're trending during the year, really after the first quarter. So the report that you have before you really just kind of shows and outlines some of the numbers that we seen in July. The primary revenue source that we see in July on the city side is tax collections. So we did collect 44.22% of the overall tax revenue budget in the month of July. Again, most taxes are due in July and January. So that's really the first half collection rate that we see. And on the expenditure side, one of the areas that we just continue to monitor are if we'll see vacancy savings or anything like that. Again, the priority of the mayor has been to hire for some of these open positions that we've had as she's done since she's come into office. But again, the month of July is really a basic summary of what you see for the collections for that month. Again, you'll see the reports start to change really around the September period, again, when we have a few months of the fiscal year in. Just to kind of give you an update, we are looking at closing fiscal year 24 in the next week or so, so we'll have a better sense of where fiscal year 24 will be will end. My plan is to submit the final year-end transfers to the council at the next meeting, barring anything that postpones that. But at the next meeting, we should have an update also on where we are projecting pre-audit of where fiscal year 24 ends. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will answer any questions.
Thank you. My only questions are, there are a couple of expense line items that are tracking pretty high towards the forecast for the year, and we're only a month in. So I was just curious about them. On page 11 of your report and page 12, I specifically highlighted communications, ERS, and central garage. They just seem to be high for 1 month in. I just wanted to get your feedback on that.
I'm sorry, you say ERS?
On page 11, communications. Am I correct that open purchase orders means that those are open invoices that we have?
So open purchase orders are POs that we set up for the fiscal year. Again, what we do is we forecast what we're going to spend for the year. It doesn't necessarily mean that all of that funds will be spent. Again, we have certain contracts and services that we have to estimate the expenses for because it's not the same year-over-year cost. But that's what open purchase orders are.
So if I look at communications, the total budget was $358,000, and that's what the forecast is. So if you have open purchase orders of 275 and change, that means what's expected, and then the delta would be
correct
other expenses that are not specifically
Correct.
budgeted for? Okay.
Yeah, so it's when we look at the forecast, it's a combination of the salaries plus what we think we're going to spend for that year. Again, some of those purchase orders we do set up as the estimate. So, and some of the services are fluid as well between different vendors that may provide the same service. Some services are based on availability of the vendor and things like that. So, so again, that's just the forecast of open purchase orders, but doesn't mean that that's what we're going to spend for the year.
Gotcha. That answered my question. Thank you. Anyone on the committee have any questions? Anyone on the council have any questions? Councilman Donovan?
How you doing, Mr. Gorman? Thank you for coming. I don't know if this falls under your realm. The parking, beach parking and all that, does that fall under the finance? Do you guys handle that, or?
We track we work with departments on tracking the revenue and things like that. I guess it would depend on what your question is.
You know, that would be my question: is how we doing with revenue wise? How is it? I didn't look through this thoroughly. If it's here, I do apologize.
Yeah. So that may be something I can certainly get back to the council on.
Yeah, just a question. I'm just concerned of,
Yep.
Curious as to what we're doing in revenue with that. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman, Verna can add to that.
Mayor?
We've collected $352,000 to date on the parking program, and about $150,000 July, August, and September.
Thank you, Mayor.
With I forgot. 350,000 approximately year to date, and the program started about 150,000 for the summer, with the highest revenue producing parking lot is Sea Bluff, and then I think followed by probably Oak Street. Yeah, I just know Sea Bluff. Oh wait, I wrote it down. Hang on. For July, August, and September, Sea Bluffs is 44,000, Bradley Point 22,000, and Oak Street 19,000. Those are just the three highest that but there, there's revenue from all of them.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I had the revenue listed as a different name on mine. I'm sorry. Yep. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Was that, Councilman? Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Gormany, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
And communication B from Mayor Durand DeBoer regarding the Department of Economic and Community Development Urban Act grant of $2 million is being held, so the mayor can gather a little bit more information. And that concludes the business of the Finance Committee. The time is 7:23. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks. Don't bother turning your mic off. We're going on to legislative matters with Chairman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Time is 7:23. The Committee on Legislative Matters is now in session. Council persons present are Councilwoman Tucker, Councilman Johnstone, myself acting as chair. Councilman Locks and Councilwoman Coletti are absent. First up this evening is Communication F from the August 26, 2024 agenda from Mayor Durand DeBoer regarding an amendment to Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate a new Section 199-5 regarding cigarette dealer licenses and renewals. And I am looking for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up is Communication G from the August 26, 2024 agenda from Mayor Durand DeBoer regarding an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 128-10, citations for violations, and I am asking for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And Mr. Chairman, Communication H from the August 26, 2024 agenda from Mayor Durand DeBoer regarding an amendment to the ordinance Blight Prevention 129-8 is going to be held pending revisions from Corporation Council. The time is 7:25, and your Committee on Legislative Matters is now closed.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to Public Lands. Councilman Donovan.
Thank you, Chairman. Due to lack of quorum, we do not have a meeting with that. But I was mistaken earlier. I am requesting that we have a public hearing again October 15th at 6:55.
So the change is not the 14th to the 15th?
Correct. I was well informed that after I said the 14th that it was Indigenous Person Day and didn't realize that at the time. So
Okay.
it is October 15th.
Noted. Thank you very much.
With that, your public lands is now closed.
All right. Thank you. We will reconvene to the council as a whole at 7:26. Moving on to unfinished business. We have two updates on here for the Kerrigan Boiler Project and Lake Street Project. Mayor, do you have anything on that?
Did you get my update for the last meeting that I wasn't here that I had submitted
Yes.
and passed it out?
Yep.
Okay. So in the last 2 weeks, there's no update.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll move right along. On to committee reports. Will the clerk please read Communication A, overpayment of refunds, into the record?
Communication A from the tax collector regarding overpayment refunds for September 2024, which will be filed with tonight's minutes.
Thank you. That brings us back to the Finance Committee. Councilman Fargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Communication B from this evening's agenda is being held, and that is all for the Finance Committee.
Fantastic. Now put on your legislative matters hat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Committee on Legislative Matters, to whom was referred the matter of Communication F from the August 26, 2024 agenda from Mayor Dorinda Boer, an ordinance amending Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate a new Section 199-5 of the Code of the City of West Haven entitled Cigarette Dealer Licenses and Renewals. Be it ordained that an amendment to Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate a new section that will be known as Section 199-5 of the Code of City of West Haven, entitled Cigarette Dealer Licenses and Renewals. Section 199-5. Each person engaging in or intending to engage in the business of selling cigarettes pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes Chapter 14 in the City of West Haven as a dealer, and each person engaging in or intending to engage in the business of selling taxed tobacco products at retail shall secure a dealer's license from the Commissioner of Revenue Services before engaging in such business or continuing to engage therein. A. Upon filing an application, an applicant shall, in a form and manner prescribed by the Commissioner of Revenue Services, give notice of such application to the clerk of the City of West Haven. Such notice shall contain the name and residential address of the applicant and the location of the place of business for which such license is to be issued. Upon receipt of such notice, the clerk shall post and maintain such notice on the internet website of the municipality for at least 2 weeks and notify the Chief of Police of the license renewal. The Chief of Police may offer comment on the application. B. Not later than the day following the date an applicant provides notice pursuant to subdivision 1 of this section, the applicant shall affix a copy of such notice, which shall be maintained in legible condition upon the outer door of the building wherein such place of business is to be located. If an application is filed for a license for a building that has not yet been constructed, the applicant shall, not later than the day following the date an applicant provides notice pursuant to subdivision 1 of this section, erect and maintain a legible condition on the site where the business is to be located, a sign that A is not less than 6 feet by 4 feet, B contains the license applied for and the name of the proposed licensee, and C is clearly visible from the public highway. And I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve a matter regarding an amendment to Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate a new section, 199.5, regarding cigarette dealer licenses and renewals. Do I have a second?
Second.
2 seconds on this side. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. The mayor would like to say a few words on that.
Yeah, so thank you very much for passing this. This is a new law that was passed that gives us the opportunity to weigh in on any dealer that wants to apply for a new license or renew an existing license. On the renewals, we're going to look at their behaviors while they had a license to see if they've served underage or they didn't properly follow the laws, or if they sold cigarettes that weren't, lawful. So unfortunately, the last state raid, which was about 2 weeks ago, we saw a little hike in the dealerships with violations. So what we're going to do now is we've asked, I'm working with the police department, we've asked the state of Connecticut for a listing of all of those that have licenses, and we're going to put together a chart, and every time they go out there and there's a violation, we're tracking it, and then we're going to track when their license is due for renewal. We're going to send a letter to everyone that has a tobacco license, letting them know that this law now exists and this is what we're going to be doing, to give them fair warning that we're not going to be approving their license. So, very disappointing to see stores in our city that sell to underage.
Mayor, do you know if the state is enacting anything similar to nicotine products, such as vaping products and other products that are not tobacco?
Well, when they do the raid, they raid all of that, right? There's even very specific ways you're supposed to advertise, or when you go into a store, where that's even supposed to be placed. It's supposed to be placed behind the counter. It's supposed to be placed up high. It's not even supposed to be level with a child's eyesight. So when they go in, they're checking all of that, and they have trained young teens that go into the stores and ask for the products.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up, to the Honorable City Council for the City of West Haven, your Committee on Legislative Matters, to whom was referred the matter of Communication G from the August 26, 2024 agenda for Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 128-10, citations for violations. Met and unanimously approved. Be it ordained that an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, to adopt and incorporate an amendment to Section 128-10 of the Code of the City of West Haven entitled Zoning Violations, Citations for Violations. Pursuant to Section 8-12A of the Connecticut General Statutes, violations of the zoning regulations of the City of West Haven shall be punishable by citation. All citations issued by the zoning enforcement officer or his or her agency shall state the violation for which the citation is being issued, the fine imposed for the violation, the time period within which the fine must be paid, and an address for the remittance of the fine. Notice of citations will also include availability of a hearing with respect to said violation. The fine for each violation shall be $150 for each day that such violation continues. Citations shall be issued by the zoning enforcement officer or his or her agent by hand or by delivery to the abode or residence of the person in violation. In addition, all unpaid fines imposed under this section will be a lien on the affected real estate from the date the fine is issued. This lien will take precedence over all other liens filed after July 1, 1997 and encumbrances except taxes. It can be continued, recorded, enforced, and released in the same way as a property tax lien. And I so move.
Thank you very much. I have a motion to approve an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 128-10, citations for violations. Do I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
And once again, Communication H from the August 26, 2024 agenda will be held. And that concludes the business for the Legislative Matters Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Lands, Councilman Donovan. Chairman Donovan?
Thank you, Chairman Pascal. Communication D from the September 9th, 2024 agenda from Mayor Dorinda Board regarding the sale of city-owned property of 69 Westfield Street is being held, holding a public hearing October 15th at 6:55.
Okay. 15, we have that down. Perfect. Thank you very much.
And I'm all set with that.
All right.
Done.
Terrific.
So move.
Moving on to actions on ordinances previously prevented, we do not have any. Do we have any liaison reports this evening? Councilwoman Heffernan.
I'm sorry. I don't know if anyone saw the article in the newspaper about the Allingtown Library. The project is moving forward, maybe not as fast as everyone would like. I'm hearing quite a bit about it at home. But they're very, very excited about the project, and I think that it's going to go, it looks like it'll be happening, and everyone's really excited about it. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd love to add something because I think if all this comes together, it's a win-win-win for everybody. As you remember, Shoreline Wellness purchased the Blake Building from the city. It was at a discount because it had asbestos, right? It was a dirty building. And, they're in the business of mental health. They're not developers, and they have their hands full. Same time, the library's looking for a location. Bring them all together. You're looking for a spot. You might be looking to sell. So the library, State Representative Bill Heffernan, met with Shoreline Wellness. They're coming to terms to purchase that building from Shoreline Wellness and then rent a floor to Shoreline Wellness. What's key in this this agreement is that we had gotten a $1 million grant to remediate the building for Shoreline Wellness. We needed to go to the state and say, can we repurpose that $1 million from Shoreline Wellness to the library? So we had to work through that. The state said we could do that if we produce the sales contract and the rental agreement. So once we do that, we're going to be able to transfer that $1 million so that we could remediate this building, and it's going to help the library, but it's going to help clean up that building. So it's going to be really great for the neighborhood to have mental health, a library, and clean up a dilapidated building that's been sitting there for pretty much decades. So let's all cross our fingers it all comes together. It's not done until you sign on the dotted line. So
Fantastic. Councilman Var, you nothing? Okay. Sure. All right. Any other liaison reports? All right. Moving on to new business. Any new business tonight? Councilman Donovan.
Yes, I am. I would like to request a meeting with Corporation Council about amending one of our city council rules. Talk to them about amending one of our city council rules, which is 5.1, which pertains to sale, transfer, and lease of property. I believe that our rule is antiquated. It's been there for quite many decades, I'm assuming, but I think we just need to revamp that and look at it differently and see if there's any way we can amend that. So,
Okay.
thank you.
We'll put that on the next agenda. Thank you. Any other new business? Oh, no. Okay.
I'm not a liaison.
Councilman
Thank you.
Fargo.
Just a reminder that this weekend is the annual Apple Festival across the street, and I will be there the rest of the week setting up. So if you want to bring me a pillow or a pizza, that would be awesome. So please come down Friday, Saturday, or Sunday and support the church and have some fun. Thank you.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say thank you to Mayor Bohr for the lovely acoustic music on the beach. This was an extra, you had an extra bonus one this Sunday, and it was wonderful. It was great. The weather held out, and it was just great. Thank you very much. Good programming, good planning.
Thank you. Any other new business? Mayor Bohr, do you have anything to add?
I do. I have a couple of things. Sit back. No, I haven't been here. So first of all, to that point, I just want to thank everybody for their patience for the last couple of meetings. Obviously, it's been a challenging couple of weeks as I continue to recover, but I just want to really tell you how much I appreciate all the outreach and the texts and the calls and the rides, because I'm at everybody's mercy for a couple of weeks, especially Councilman Donovan, who every time there's an event in the city, I call and I say, are you going? Can you pick me up? Can you drop me up? Including the meeting tonight. So I really appreciate everybody's patience. And to that end, we had a lot of great events in the past couple of weeks. I want to thank everybody who participated in the 9/11 ceremony. It was one of the best we've ever had. We had a resident, Mickey Cross, who moved here from New York. He was in 9/11. He was a firefighter. He was featured in a book, and we were able to honor him. And it was really moving, and he really enjoyed it. So to see him shine and all the work that everybody put in, especially Beth Sabo, to that event every year, that was a really great event. We had the Special Olympics here last weekend, and we had received feedback from the organizer and the director of Special Olympics saying it was truly, really a great organized, from the volunteers to the leaders to the backdrop we know is so beautiful down the beach. They'd like to come back. And I, in particular, want to thank our bocce players that are down the beach on the boardwalk all the time, because they took their time to help lead the athletes and take care of the athletes. So everybody really pitched in. And then we had our Vietnam Veterans event last Monday. So the lieutenant governor came down, and we used the list, an invitee list through the assessor's office of everybody who's registered for Vietnam And we were able to give them all certificates from the state of Connecticut and the mayor's office and a pin from the commissioner. And it was a very moving ceremony, and we heard their stories. We passed the microphone around in the audience. So it was really nice. And they said, 60 years, we've never been thanked, some of us. So it was a great turnout. And then, of course, we have the Apple Festival coming up. We have the Public Expo, the Safety Expo is October 5th. And then the Italian regional event is October 12th. That rotates from city to city. So I just want to mention those events. A couple other things. The out-of-state license plate program started last week. So as a friendly reminder, we contracted an organization that is out in the community, and they're going to record those that are here that have out-of-state license plates. So during COVID, we saw an influx of people come into our city from neighboring states. And like we said, we welcome them here. We want them to work and play and live here and raise their family here, but you got to pitch in, because if you're not pitching in, the rest of us are picking up, and paying the tab for services such as education and public safety and trash hauling. It's only fair that you pitch in. And if you've been here a while, we're going to require you to pitch in, and we could actually go back 3 years. So I would strongly, strongly suggest anybody who is not registering their car in West Haven, lives in West Haven, that they do so before we go back 3 years, because we will do that. If you noticed, I don't know if you saw on social media, we put floodgates in at Washington Avenue and Campbell Avenue. Those are two underpasses that continually are low-lying areas that continually flood. And we heard a lot about flash flooding recently with the storms. Those are two critical areas that flash flood. And usually we have like a wooden horse there, or we park police officers there to deter folks from driving through, because as much as you say, turn around, don't drown, people still attempt it. And we know that many years ago under Morgan Lane Pass, a woman passed away because she was going under the bridge. So to me, it's a common sense solution to put those gates there. So police, fire, emergency services, Rick Fontana all work together on that. So I really thank them for helping me to get that done. Speaking of security, school security. So as you know, we had a lockdown at Savin Rock School. Whenever we have something like that, we have an after action plan within 2 days to talk about what went well, what can we do better. The feedback on the police response was amazing. They were there. They were there in no time. The work by our teachers was amazing as well. They had just had lockdown training the day before. Everything went into action very smoothly. Few hiccups. We're working on them because we always want to do everything we can in our notification process. So I just want to let you know that we work on that continually. And as a reminder, we put in a request for a $1.2 million grant from our federal government for school security throughout our city, which we are waiting. We were authorized, but we haven't been funded yet. So we'll find out that in February. So that's to put cameras in all of our schools. We have cameras, but they need to be updated so that we could see in the schools. So I just want to update you on that. Community Investment Fund, we put in a grant request for $250,000. We find out tomorrow if we got it for downtown planning. So you can't just ask for $3 million to fix downtown. You have to have a certified plan in order to do so. So we have requested a grant from the state of Connecticut to do that so that we can then seek the funding that we need to address downtown. So there's a lot that goes into that. Traffic studies, spacing, remediation. So it takes a while, but we're working on all of that as well. What else? So we had two bids that we've been working on. One is the Savin Rock Conference Center, and one is Style School. Style School, we got 3 bids back on the property, and we're interviewing them on Thursday. 2 bids unfortunately came in late. I don't know why you would go to all that trouble and hand in your bid late, but the rules are the rules. So we'll be interviewing the 3 that were on time, and we'll see if one is acceptable. Savin Rock Conference Center, we got 2 bids, 2 pretty good bids. And we interviewed those bidders on Friday. We asked a lot of good questions. When we have our bidding conferences with our team, we ask the same question of every bidder to make sure we're fair. But we want to get to the bottom of some of the issues that we've heard in the community with other bidders in the past. So I would say, so we're I would say by your next meeting, you will have something on your desk recommending somebody for the conference center. So I'm really excited that's moving along. That stuff doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work, title searches, surveys. There's a lot of work that goes into it because we want to make sure that this time it's done right and we avoid any issues with any neighbors. Butler Building, I know you brought up the Butler Building, so I just want to let everyone know that we did put that out to bid. We had to get a lot of information, as I just said, before we can put anything out to bid. We put the Butler Building out to bid. It came in at 1.3 million, was the lowest bidder, and ARPA, we only allocated $1 million towards that project. So I went back to the Parks and Recreation Department and said, we either got to scale back the Butler Building, which may not work for them, or you have to redetermine how that can best serve Parks and Rec. So they're looking at the pickleball courts, potentially the tennis courts, the Brown Park. Like, how can they best use that $1 million to help with recreation for the families in West Haven? So it may not be the Butler Building because we may not be able to afford it. So we're waiting to find out on that. Let's see. And I just, I know the women left regarding domestic violence, and they recommended we use ARPA funding to potentially hire someone. And listen, we're always open to ideas for improving our addressing of domestic violence. I do want to note, though, that you can't really hire someone with the ARPA funds because that's not sustainable. So a friendly reminder that we put in the budget, we all decided to put in the budget an additional position in the health department for outreach and social work. So that's what we're working, and that person is Maureen, our health director, is connecting with Chief Perno to see how that person in our health department can better work with our police department. So we are working on that, but again, we're always open to do more. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, and I believe I speak on behalf of the council. Where I just want to thank you for being here because you're still on the mend, and I'm sure you'd rather be home on the couch than be here with us trying to heal. But also because of these updates that you've been giving us, because not only does it keep us informed, I believe it serves the people of the city very well. So I just want to thank you for that because it's not something that we're used to, and I enjoy hearing about these things, just like I think everybody at home does. Is there any other new business for this evening? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The time is now 7:48.